Hey guys, today I want to explain to you how I built my raised beds. Now, I'm hoping that these beds are going to last for a long time because when I built them, I modeled them after a good friend of mine who did more or less the exact same thing 16 years ago. And his are still going strong. They still look great. So I wanted to explain to you today how I built these and why I did them the way I did. I've also noticed a lot of questions in the comment section recently about, why did I use pea gravel and not mulch and things like that. So I'll address all those questions and the details of these beds in this video today. First things first, these beds are built with fir planks. Now they're custom cuts. They're 10 inches wide and they're 2 inches thick. And they are quite expensive. These beds cost about $240 in lumber per bed, so they're not cheap, but I wanted to get fir wood because we're in a really dry climate here, and fir is a wood that can handle the dry. Some people prefer cedar, but cedar, just from talking to some other gardeners in the area, is better suited for rainy climates because that's where that wood is actually from, whereas fir is a local wood here, and it's highly adapted to our climate. So I wanted to go with fir, and they're custom planks, that's why they're so expensive. But like I said, my friend's beds have lasted 16 years with this exact same type. These beds are 36 inches from outside edge to outside edge. On the inside, it's about 32 inches. So I like that width. It's more based on my style of farming. I know I could have gone with a wider bed, but I wanted to have beds that were similar to what I was used to. So you can see these fir planks. All these beds are 18 feet long. So one plank across, and I built all of these in my carport. The wood came milled. I just had to finish the ends of them. So the ends, when they came, they were like 6 or 8 inches longer than 18 feet. And so I was able to cut them to get a straight edge, and then I could fit the side piece on. And so what I've done is I've screwed through here, and what I did later is I put these brackets on with nails, and the idea there was just to keep them firm together, and because they will start to twist, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. The other thing I did, because the beds are so long, is I put a rod right down the center, and those are all shanked off. And then that keeps the bed from bowing out, because I'm going to add compost to these every year. And you can see the compost has already settled quite a bit. When I started these beds this season, I filled them right to the edge, but the compost has already sunk down almost 2 inches. So it's going to continue to do that for a little while longer, and I'm going to keep adding a new layer of compost each season to top it up. Once I had the beds framed, I just had my neighbor or any friend that walked by help me carry them into the yard, and they actually sit on top of the soil. What I did was I rototilled. Every time I laid a bed down, I rototilled around it, and I shoveled the loose dirt in. And the idea here was to get them higher off the ground, because I knew I was going to fill it with a pea gravel. And then I laid down a fabric, and then I laid down about 4 inches of pea gravel. So if I dig down here, you can see the bottom of the bed. And the reason behind that was so that the beds aren't sitting in anything that's decomposing or rotting. And this was just sort of guesswork from me. I did this just on logic, and I can't say for sure if this is going to sustain it in the long term, but I think the logic is correct, in that if it's not sitting in its sort of rotting wood chips, the wood is going to last longer and it's going to drain better. Not that drainage is too much of an issue for us here, but that was my thinking, that I wanted to keep it off that, and then the soil is on the inside, and then there's nothing on the outside that's going to be rotting the bed down. So it was just a longevity decision there. The way I gridded out these beds to get them perfectly straight, and you can see they're very they're very lined up to one another, is I just use string lines. And the first thing I did was I used my walking path here as a reference, so I ran a string, like just with little rebar stakes and string along this and all the way to there. And then I just measured 5 feet off that string line the whole way, and then ran a string on the corner of this bed all the way to that one, and then basically did it with each one. So then I would just measure there's exactly 2 feet between here, so I just measure 2 feet, run another string line all the way in, and line them up that way. The irrigation on these beds is all drip. I'm not the biggest fan of drip, but I had so much of it left over from years of using it that I decided to put the beds on drip, and I have on and off valves on each line, so I can turn an entire bed off if I want, or if I have just one row of crop going at a time, I can do one row like I did when I first started these peas. They were the only thing in here, so I just had one line running opposed to watering the whole bed. The other thing I do on these beds is, for example, this part of the bed isn't planted out. These pieces of wood are just keeping this tarp smothered down to keep any weed pressure down. Is I have clipped off the lines so that I'm not watering this area unnecessarily, and then that stuff is just gonna stay covered and all those weeds will burn off and it'll keep any new weeds from coming in. So I'm just watering what I need in the bed. Alright, those are my raised garden beds. If you guys liked that video, please give it a thumbs up. One thing I forgot to mention is I didn't put any treatment on the bed, no linseed oil or anything like that. I didn't want it leaching into the soil. And I wanted to mention 2 more things before I wish you guys a good weekend. One is I'm posting blogs to Medium now. My first one just went up today. Link will be below. And I also wanted to ask you guys if you would be interested in me doing a live video once a month or maybe every 2 weeks, seeing how much response there is for it. But we could do like Q&A basically. We could talk about a subject and then I could basically just answer you guys' questions. So if you're interested in that type of thing, let me know, leave a comment below, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Yeah.